Energetic, outgoing, dynamic, these words do not describe Richard Ayoade. Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Richard Ayoade moments. Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe for more great content. For this list, we'll be looking at all those little moments of brilliance that hooked us all on the sleeper genius. Moments from scripted comedies, panel shows, guest appearances, and other programs are all for grabs today. So sit down, buckle up, and set your sat-nav to Chuckletown. Number 10, Moss does Countdown. The IT crowd.
I did it, I've been accepted! No!
The marriage of Maurice Moss and Countdown is almost as perfect as that of Moss and Ayoade. Bland, dull, and with more than a whiff of OAP, it's the perfect showcase for the unique genius that lurks within. Per maths expert Rachel Riley, Moss hasn't gotten less than an 8-letter word during his countdown run, including the 9-letter word that was staring everyone right in the face, Tenettenba.
And Morris?
It actually already is a word. Tenettenba.
Good heavens, really?
This, of course, given the logic of the show, leads Moss to be invited to the 8+ gang and the shady, rough and tumble milk-fueled world of Street Countdown.
I came here to drink milk and kick ass. And I've just finished my milk.
Number 9, missing out on Call Me Maybe, the big fat quiz of the year.
It was tough being underground, but then there were times, like now, when I'm pleased I was.
For most of us, 2012 was a whirlwind of Carly Rae Jepsen Call Me Maybe fever. But for Ayoade it was different, having spent weeks underground, missing the initial infection, and only emerging when the situation had been contained.
I have seen the video, and the video is great because at the end, the guy's bloody gay.
And boy was he smug about it. Basking in the irony of the video's twist ending, Richard's big fat moment is nearly snuffed out when Jack Whitehall butts in with a crass joke.
If you gave your number out to a girl, pretty girl like that, and then you discovered that she was as annoying as Carly Rae Jepsen, you'd suck a cock to get rid of her.
Jack gets a couple laughs, but Richard flips it, douses it with logic, and takes the new, better joke to its outermost limits.
Jack, you don't have to suck cocks to get rid of people.
Number 8, cold water pressure, the big fat quiz of the year. The cynical among us know that rarely is anyone genuinely interested in the answer to how are you.
How you doing, Richard? You all right?
I don't know, I've drifted off a bit, to be honest.
In 2010, Jimmy Carr took advantage of a big fat lull to check in on Richard, who opted to give a sincere yet mundane reply.
I'll tell you what, actually, it's very hard in our place to get the cold water pressure up. Do you know what I mean? In the shower, and it's just a nightmare.
Going into great detail about the state of his flat's waterworks, Richard reveals that his shower lacks the satisfactory cold water pressure and admits that he's removed the cold water tank and replaced it with a beanbag chair. And we just have to sit and listen.
We don't have a tank. I took the tank out. That might be the problem. I took the tank out.
Why would you take the tank out?
Because I wanted to put a big beanbag.
Number 7, Jimmy's mum. Big fat quiz of the noughties. When there is no other joke to be made, there's always your mother.
Richard and Noel, what have you put as your answer to this question?
Your mum.
Was it your mum? No, seriously, was it your mum?
It's juvenile, it's played out, and in the right hands, that's why it can still work. Partnered up with fellow indoor kite veteran Noel Fielding, the pair give your mum as the answer to Jimmy's big fat question.
That was your mum, yeah?
They're really mean to me, they're bullying me, I don't like it.
Mum.
It was your mum, though.
Rather than acknowledging it as an empty joke, the two commit to it, expand it, and ask every variation on it that they can. And it gets worse and worse, ending with a bad sex joke about dying. Jeez.
I heard your mum killed him during sex.
Number 6, blurred lines, the big fat quiz of the year. When Robin Thicke's inescapable summer hit Blurred Lines crops up as a correct answer in the 2013 Big Fat Quiz, it naturally leads to some banter. Dara O'Brien finds Thicke creepy and Kristen Schaal is at peace with him despite the, quote, date rapiness of the lyrics.
I'm okay with them. I mean, the lyrics are a bit date rapey.
Richard, meanwhile, plays the devil's advocate and tries to view the song from Thicke's perspective. What does no really mean? Is rejection really a reality?
What was that? No? Oh, yeah, whatever.
It was such an ambiguous word, though.
Is it possible to not hook up with someone? Richard, within this context, is thoroughly confused, but the rest of us are thoroughly amused.
It's very ambiguous when someone says, I don't want you to have sex with me. What do they mean by that? Like, are they I just don't know where you stand these days.
Number 5, The Learner, man-to-man with Dean Lerner.
Good morning, everyone.
Before Maurice Moss, there was Dean Lerner, housing the mannerisms of a British James Cagney, mixed with a bit of 1950s female objectification. The character was given his own faux chat show in 2006.
You lot are going to be competing against one another to become the new night security guard at my Woking depot. This is the opportunity of a lifetime.
Hosting special guest Formula 5 racing champ Steve Pissing, their conversation about auto racing and car parts distribution reveals some subtle, sinister backstory, and when the chat runs its course, it segues into an apprentice-style reality show. Steve handles the heavy lifting, the dull, and the male contestants, while Dean makes off with the sole female contestant who is naturally declared the winner.
Anyone here want a cup of tea?
No.
Cup of tea?
No, they don't. They're fine.
Cup of tea?
They're fine.
Okay.
Number 4, I'm Too Busy Just Staying Alive. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. A real-world sleeper turned cult hit, Dark Place's internal framework presents it as an unaired, yet still classic bit of British television.
They would not make this show today. They would not make it. You know, it was way the hell out there. You know, we were young, we were physically fit, and we were challenging logic.
In it, Richard plays Dean Lerner, author Garth Marenghi's book publisher, who in turn plays hospital administrator Thornton Reed within the fictional series. Through comically bad acting, weird line delivery, misuse of props, and generally playing the character as a hard-nosed, shotgun-totting boss cop, Ayoade shines throughout the unfathomably bizarre series.
Don't drink that! Look, it's bright green!
Thank God I only took a tiny sip.
There are many gems throughout, but Reed's green screen contribution to Dr. Rick's already ludicrous bike chase is an absolute cracker.
Pull over! Get away! Pull over!
Number 3, No Foolishness. Never mind the Buzzcocks. Following the departure of Simon Amstel and until the arrival of Rod Gilbert, Never Mind the Buzzcocks adopted a Have I Got News For You endless cycle of guest hosts. One of these guest hosts was Richard Ayoade.
Hello and welcome to Never Mind the Buzzcocks. I'm Richard Ayoade. Now, before we get started, when I was asked to host the show, I said I would do so on one condition, but when my financial demands weren't met, I mean, not even close, to be honest.
Establishing early on that he'd only agreed to host the show as long as pop and rock music was treated with respect, Richard spends the half hour keeping the energy good and low, avoiding jokes, and discouraging the humour and lightheartedness the show was normally known for.
More like a chuckle. I mean, not now, obviously, it's dead silent.
Effectively, Ayoade became the anti-host, and it's hilarious.
Why are we watching this show? Very hard to know, isn't it?
Number 2, trying to put out a fire, the IT crowd. For worldwide audiences, it was the IT crowd and the role of Maurice Moss that thrust Richard Ayoade into his portion of the limelight.
Oh, 4! I mean 5! I mean fire!
Per both series creator Graham Linehan and Ayoade himself, Moss is basically just Richard but with scripted lines and situations.
Stand upright. Now I can't read it. Oh, not me. I am a giddy goat.
Ayoade's general disinterest and reserved wit therefore comes out as Moss's awkwardness and difficulty socializing and interacting with the world around him. So naturally, when the basement dweller is faced with something as primal and analog as a fire, he has no idea whatsoever.
I'll just put this over here with the rest of the fire. 01153. No. 01118.
Before we unveil our top pick, here's a few honourable mentions.
Sorry, the question was, do you get through a lot of eggs? So here is my downsized house. It looks like a normal Hansel and Gretel style house. But there's a key difference. Would you Adam and Eve that there are 5 rooms in one here?
Number 1, Richard Goes Ballistic. The big fat quiz of everything.
I was just eating from a tray. Oh, yeah.
He's on sugar now. He's just gone crazy.
Because I went down hard.
What are they?
I prefer. It's a mixture of Maltesers.
All out of bananas, Richard decides to snack on some Maltesers which, being an orderly sort of fellow, he organised on a tray. But rather than top off his blood sugar levels, Richard is bullied by Rob Beckett and left candyless.
It's like every break time at school, there was always someone like you with my tray of Maltesers.
What are you going to do, mate? What are you going to do?
Richard manages to be the bigger man, but when Jimmy uses him as a punchline a moment later, the panel feels the long overdue nerd rage of Ayoade.
Use me as a premise. Rodeo man over there, these two ancient f***s. The Crow Boy.
Renaming the Buxton Ross team, Richard sets his sights and tees off on Rob, claiming the younger comic was born 20 minutes ago and was still wet from the womb.
You finished all my sweets! You know, it was 5 years of that! 5 long years! Every day I bought a tray of sweets, and a like you took them!
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo UK and subscribe for more great content.